I came here to speak to this man, not your security. You have failed me.
Thank you. Okay.
I've been a Labour voter my entire life. You have failed to be the opposition.
I'm
sorry, I am the landlord. He's the landlord. That man is not allowed in my pub. He's the landlord. I'm not going to physically hurt him. That man. That's assault. I am not bothering you. I am not bothering him. That man is not allowed in my pub. Get out of my pub. Go on.
Calm yourself down.
Get out of my pub.
Calm down.
Keir Starmer's latest move has angered pub owners, and for good reason. As establishments begin to recover from the pandemic, new Labour Party rules threaten to turn these beloved social spaces into tightly controlled areas where even a harmless joke can cause a lawsuit for the owner. Labour seems to be seeking to undermine the foundations of British pub culture. How did we end up in this situation, and will the industry be able to withstand this pressure?
You failed to ask whether lockdown was functioning. Do you understand?
Shall we go in?
Thousands of people have died because you have failed to do your job and ask the real questions. Well, I am telling you now, and I hope this goes out.
Today I will tell you the incredible and inspiring story of Steve Haslam, not just a pub owner, but a true hero of his business, who runs 8 pubs spread across picturesque East Anglia with boundless love and passion. If you've ever walked around Essex or Cambridge, you could undoubtedly stumble upon one of its bright and cozy establishments filled with laughter, joy and friendly conversations. Haslam has invested in his chain, known as PUBS, not only years of hard work, but also his soul. He has more than 180 dedicated employees in his team, and he doesn't just run a business, he becomes the heart and pillar of the local community. His pubs are not just places to drink, they are real oases where people gather to relax after a long day at work, share their joys and sorrows, meet friends and enjoy the atmosphere of warmth and comfort that envelops them like a favorite blanket. The PUBS chain has become a vital part of local culture, especially during those difficult times when the industry faced unprecedented challenges. The pandemic, quarantine, rising prices, and new regulations threatening the existence of pubs, all this has become a real test for Haslam and his team. Nevertheless, their institutions have remained a bastion of hope and support for their communities, a place where one can find solace and understanding. For Haslam, it's not just a business, it's a space where people can chat, share stories, and forget about their worries for a moment. He sincerely appreciates the important role that his pubs play in people's lives, and with unquenchable passion and determination strives to keep them open and prosperous, despite all the challenges that life throws in their way.
This is an attack, it seems to me, on pub culture. Are you getting the impression, because I am, Steve, that Labour doesn't like pubs?
It appears never-ending, and when you consider the contribution we have in local communities and to the Exchequer.
The Employee Protection Act has caused a real wave of discontent in the pub industry, and for good reason. At first glance, this bill may seem like a positive step aimed at protecting employees from harassment and unacceptable behavior in the workplace. However, if you look deeper, it becomes clear why pub owners like Steve Haslam are so passionately opposed to him. Imagine that pub owners can be held accountable for every word and action of their visitors. This means that they must be responsible for every joke, every inappropriate comment, and every banter that takes place in their establishment. This is not just absurd, it is equivalent to watching adults and controlling their conversations. This task not only seems unrealistic, but also absolutely impossible in the noisy and lively atmosphere of the pub, where fun and free communication reign. Pub owners cannot and should not be held responsible for the behavior of their guests. This is not just a business issue, it is a matter of common sense, and that is why their protest against this law is full of emotions and just indignation.
Good evening, how are you?
Very, very well. Whereabouts are your pubs?
We're sort of Essex and up through Cambridgeshire. So yeah, it's sort of the East Anglia region.
Yeah, quite a big chain. I gather you've got about 180 employees, so this Worker Protection Act must be a source of some concern for you. You'll be responsible for every word that is spoken by your customers in 8 pubs. That's not fair, is it?
It's unbelievable. I mean, we can have 1,000 people pass through the doors of one of our pubs in, on a busy day. How are we supposed to manage that? How are we supposed to police that?
For Haslam, this is not just a problem, it is the path to a real disaster. He runs a chain of pubs that thousands of people can come to on busy days. The mere thought that he could be held accountable for every potentially offensive remark uttered within these walls can shock anyone. But the problem is not limited only to the risk of liability. Any of his employees can sue him if they feel that he did not try hard enough to protect them from offensive statements. Haslam is horrified at the thought this could lead to multiple lawsuits, draining the resources of pub owners who are already struggling to keep their businesses going. He sees this as a direct attack on the very essence of pubs, places where the spirit of communication reigns, where people can freely express their thoughts and share their opinions.
So, be careful what you wish for, Labour government, because if you put us out of business, there'll be a big black hole.
Yeah, I mean, because of course this follows this threat. I mean, it's not actually official yet, but let's hope they don't do it. But it looks like it's coming down.
The adoption of the law on the protection of workers can lead to a real disaster for pubs. Haslam warns with alarm that this law could force pub owners to control the behavior of their patrons in a way that would destroy the very essence of the establishment. Yes, intervention is necessary when someone crosses the boundaries of aggression or threatens health, but watching every word spoken is too much. It's a challenge that can destroy that unique atmosphere that we all love pubs for. Haslam is not alone in his concerns. Pub owners across the UK share his concern, believing that legislators completely do not understand how these establishments actually overly interfere in their work. As it stands, the Employee Protection Act can force owners to become judges in disputes because of harmless jokes and friendly banter. He sincerely fears that if this law is passed without changes, we may find ourselves in the future when pubs will no longer be the cozy and friendly places that we know and love. Instead, they can turn into cold and wary establishments where visitors will feel uncomfortable watching every word, and the owners will constantly be afraid of litigation.
Now, you go to pubs now, if they haven't got a garden, you'll see people outside the front having a cigarette. If they got a garden, they go out the back and have a cigarette. I mean, what possible harm does that do to anyone? Why would this government want to attack pubs in this way? Because if you're a smoker, I'm not anymore, but I used to be. If you said to me I can't smoke anywhere...
Steve Haslam is absolutely sure of one thing. The requirement that pub owners be responsible for every word spoken by visitors is complete madness. Imagine a noisy pub on a Friday night, filled with friends and colleagues gathering in groups and exchanging stories and jokes. Hundreds of people come and go to Haslam's establishments every day. However, according to the Employee Protection Act, if someone in his pub feels offended by any comment, Haslam could face legal action if he does not take sufficient measures to prevent this. It's not just following a few rules, it requires understanding what people are saying in a casual setting, which is simply impossible. Haslam emphasizes that pub culture is based on an atmosphere of openness and freedom of speech, where visitors can express their thoughts without fear. This does not mean that he approves of hateful or aggressive behavior, but he is rightly concerned about how slippery this law may become. Should the owners interfere in every conversation at the table and interrupt friends in mid-sentence? This is not only impractical but also intrusive. The pub is not designed for people to look over their shoulder, fearing that their laughter or comment might offend someone or displease the owner. There is a real risk of creating an atmosphere of tension in which everyone will be on edge. Instead of being a place to relax and socialize, pubs can turn into strict control zones. Imagine the consequences this could have for pub staff, who would have to constantly monitor customer interactions and perhaps even intervene to prevent potential problems. This is a real nightmare for Haslam. His team will spend more time monitoring conversations than managing the pub itself. And if they miss something, it can lead to legal consequences. This will quickly turn into a financial and logistical burden that will become unbearable for most pub owners. Many pub owners and their regular patrons are beginning to wonder if the Labour Party's policies are deliberately directed against pub culture. Haslam notices a trend in the actions of the Labour Party which, in his opinion, demonstrate disregard for pubs and their role in British society. One striking example is the proposed ban on smoking in pubs. This may seem like a minor change, but for Haslam and others, it is another blow to an industry that is already going through difficult times. What do you think about this video? Write your thoughts in the comments. See you later.